So in our last interview, man, you talked about how Tupac he was signed to his own record label, Out The Gutta Records. So tell me the difference, man, between Out The Gutta Records, Death Row East, and Machiavelli Records, my man.
Um, yes, I appreciate that question, Art. Um, so what most people don't understand is when Tupac was released from prison, before he went to prison in November of 1993, Tupac was signed to TNT Records, right? And which was Atron Gregory, his old management, and so on and so forth. So he was signed to them. When Tupac released a couple of his albums, right? After he released a few albums and
Right.
they were successful, he then in turn bought out his old management, right? So after he did that, TNT then had became Out the Gutter Records. So from the inception, the contract that he had with Interscope was already in effect. The only thing that basically changed was the name of the boutique label that he would now come to control and own and be the star artist on. And so when you understand that, then you'll understand why when I showed you and I showed your viewers the contract, the bail agreement, right, in which it basically stated all of the terms in which Tupac would have to live up to if they got him out on bail. But most importantly, once again, had people saying that, oh, I probably printed up the paperwork, or the paperwork's not real. You had people taking various shots and so on and so forth. So what I like to do is I like to respond in kind, but with only facts. So now, once again, so the letter on that page, this is the reason why the letter was basically mailed to Out the Gutter Records, not Death Row, not Tupac himself. You know what I mean? It was mailed to Out the Gutter Records. And so when you look at this right here, it was out Interscope, Out the Gutter Records. But I'm gonna give you what I just told you from the letter, because I don't think people really fully, so that you have a full scope of understanding.
Right.
Basically, on November 13th, 1993, between Interscope and Out the Gutter Records, ODG Records, as the successor in interest to TNT Records. The successor in interest. So basically, Tupac now would be taking over, and he's now Out the Gutter Records. Regarding the exclusive recording services of Tupac Shakur, as amended hereinafter referred to as the recording agreement, unless otherwise stated, all terms defined in the recording agreement will have the same meaning when used below. So that's just the recording agreement and Out the Gutter Records. Then you go into the second paragraph, basically where it says, reference hereby made to the agreement dated on October 3rd, 1995, which basically is the bail agreement between Out the Gutter Records, Tupac Shakur, Interscope Records, and Atlantic Recording Corporation regarding certain financial commitments made by Interscope and Atlantic on Shakur's behalf for the purpose of securing Shakur's release on bail pending the appeal from the prison in New York, hereinafter referred to as the bail agreement. So basically, what Tupac had to do involving his publishing company and involving his record company basically was used as collateral for them to get him out of prison, right? And so I also brung with me today the actual incorporation papers from Out the Gutter Records. So, and I have it right here. This is the actual incorporation papers, as well as the dissolution papers from Out the Gutter Records. And basically what it says is that the corporation in itself, once again, the difference between all of those other supposed things, the Death Row East, as well as the Machiavelli Records, is Out the Gutter Records was an incorporated tax-paying entity that Interscope in itself basically was contractually obligated to address when Tupac got out of prison. That's why I said that Tupac and himself was Suge Knight before Suge Knight was actually Suge Knight, because he had his own record label. Like I said, once again, the November 3rd, 1993 was the date of incorporation. It was located in Stone Mountain, Georgia, the same place where the Tupac Amaru foundation, as well as the Tupac Amaru Center that they had for the children at that particular time was located. And the most important part was that after Tupac had passed away, like I said, Afeni Shakur became the CEO, Charles Fuller became the CFO, and Mr. Fishbein, who is the attorney now helping Setua with the lawsuit against the estate, he was the secretary of Out The Gutta Records at that particular time. And when they dissolved it, the dissolution date was May 24th, 1999. So when you get into the fact of the matter is, like anybody saying anything in regards to Tupac being his contract or whatever have you being assigned to death row, the facts just don't line up with any kind of statements that are linked to that accusation or notion at all. So now, when you talk about that, now you go into, well, a lot of people say, well, what about Death Row East? You know, Tupac was going to do Death Row East and so on and so forth. Well, to be perfectly honest, Death Row East was a way for Suge Knight to be in business with Tupac. Because like I said, once again, he wasn't signed to Death Row. Suge Knight was just his manager. And so it's a business proposition. There's a lot of things that people say, but for me, what I understand about the music business, the only thing that really truly honestly matters is what's in black and white. You can tell me you're going to do a business deal with me, you're going to produce a song for me, right. You're going to do anything for me. If that's not in black and white, you don't have to do anything. You're not obligated to do anything. So that's the thing with Death Row East. Like I said, printed up T-shirts, yeah, and so again, Tupac also had the Ghetto Stars. It was a group that he had, which like they were an offshoot of the Outlaws, if you will. They were already over there signed at Quest Records. So if Tupac, like I said, was going to do anything, he was going to keep on doing what he was doing as far as his contractual obligations, which Machiavelli was the last album that he owed to Interscope under that 3-album deal. All Eyes on Me, double album, that's 2. Machiavelli, that's 3. The only thing he was going to do after that was the One Nation album and trying to bring back and bridge the gap between the East and the West Coast. And then now when you get to Machiavelli Records, most people say, well, Tupac was going to do Machiavelli Records and it was going to be distributed by Death Row. But what most people don't understand is Death Row didn't even distribute Death Row. And a lot of people forget the fact that when the Dog Pound album, Warner Brothers wouldn't release it, Interscope then went to Priority to release that record. So you got to understand, how would Death Row be able to distribute Tupac's Machiavelli Records when they didn't have their own distribution themselves? They were basically a boutique label being assisted by Interscope and being truly, honestly, distributed by Warner Brothers. And so a lot of people, like I said, once again, and nobody's been able to show us or the people when they make these accusations any documentation as to Tupac being assigned to Death Row or any of that information. And so I want to jump into like the benefit, once again, the benefit to Suge Knight. So the benefit to Suge Knight overall and why he did, and I never want to take anything away from Suge Knight from that perspective. Like I said, what he did was unheard of. The records that Death Row was moving at that particular time, nobody's moved records like that in hip hop since. Everything was going platinum, double platinum, or triple platinum. And so the benefit to Suge Knight in getting Tupac out of jail was the fact that he would become his manager. And that first agreement that Tupac signed that I showed you that was written in handwriting, Suge basically assured that he would be Tupac's manager. Boom, from that perspective, right? And so that would then make him tied to Tupac for the foreseeable future for like 3 years. And so when you deal with that, it's like, okay, cool. What else? Was that? No, that wasn't it. After Tupac was released from prison, Warner Tamberlane Publishing basically renewed Suge Knight's publishing contract, right? For $4 million. So now here you have it. So how does that benefit now? Suge Knight he has Tupac under the label. So with that renewal of the contract, we got Tupac. We know that we're going to make money off of him. But now I can take the artists that I already have, we heard Snoop just mention recently that he never received a royalty check. He never received publishing or any of that, right? So what Suge would do was he would take his publishing company tied to the songs that Tupac was now writing, and now be able to receive publishing royalties off of that. So that was the benefit to Suge Knight in regards to doing all that he did for Jimmy Iovine and them and watching over Tupac. But like I said, we understand that didn't go as planned because Tupac is no longer with us. May God rest his soul. So when you think about the bigger picture of what people been trying to say, like I said, we had a lot of people trying to come at us, or should I say come at me in regards to these facts, because once these facts are presented, then the lies have to stop. And another thing, I'll say this, the paperwork that I presented, the bail agreement and all the bail, corporate guarantee, all of that information basically had to be given to the judge before Tupac was let out of prison. So there's no way nobody could fake that. There's no way it could be fraudulent. There's no way it could not be true. And so, like I said, when you understand the totality of what that is and what went on, that's just the basis of it all. So once again, Tupac was Out The Gutta Records, Interscope, masquerading under death row, which was what he planned on doing, and he rode that and represented it to the fullest like he was supposed to. And so, at the end of the day, I basically rest with that because, you can't debate facts.
So Machiavelli Records and Death Row East was pretty much just the idea.
It was basically an idea. As you've seen, people come up with ideas each and every day. And so the idea was, this is what I would do, and this is not who I would do it with in regards to who would distribute the actual project. I mean, the actual label. People were basically saying that, well, it's going to be distributed by Death Row. And like I said, the fact of the matter is Warner Brothers and Interscope basically distributed Death Row. So how could Death Row distribute Machiavelli Records? Tupac was basically his own entity. And then we know for a fact that he had euthanasia, which was the situation that he was ready to deal with in dealing with that $80 million multimedia deal through Warner Brothers that Quincy Jones helped him set up. And see, when I say multimedia, people don't understand what I mean by that. It was films, music, documentaries, books. It could have been, so it would have covered a broad spectrum of entertainment, not just what Tupac was doing under Death Row was just music. And he was doing acting too, but he was doing that was a separate thing. But he was going to tie that under one umbrella under the euthanasia imprint. Facts. And art. A lot of people must remember whenever they see like liner notes or things with Tupac's handwriting saying certain stuff as to who he was going to have on a project or what the name of the song was going to be, or even the order of songs in his handwriting, people must understand that was just an idea until the final project is put out. It's one thing to have an idea, but it's another thing to implement the idea and you to see the final project. You understand what I'm saying? So most people understand, the people out there, you must understand, like, if it ain't in black and white and signed duly by both parties, don't believe it, because it's not concrete and it's not enforceable. So most people need to understand that.